Oh my God.
Let's make America great again.
Again.
It's not an SNL skit like that. He said that. That was what he ended his speech with. We've had 4 years of Donald Trump. There's civil unrest. 177,000 Americans are dead from the pandemic. Children were ripped away from their parents at the border and put in cages. Dozens of asylum seekers were found dead in those cages. Donald Trump has embarrassed the country over and over and over again. His trade war has led to an uptick in suicides among our farmers. Tens of millions of Americans are unemployed. I mean, I guess we have to. I guess we have to listen to this. No, we don't. Okay, great. We don't. They've had 4 years and they think they've made America great again. It's not great. They're so lazy that they didn't even take time to come up with like a new slogan.
No, he started the speech by saying, "We've made America great again." If America's great again, why do you have to make it great again? I'm like, I can't. And like, that was the cherry on top of that boring ass speech that we had to sit through. The most standard Republican talking point speech with the most uncharismatic, insincere robot in the world in Mike Pence, where he just hit on every talking point. Oh my God. You want to talk about Qasem Soleimani? Okay, 170,000 plus Americans have died from COVID. Oh, you really want to talk about the amount of judges you've appointed? Tens of millions of Americans, 30 plus million Americans are unemployed. Like, it was so, like, you could have made that Republican speech in 2012 and no one would have noticed anything different. There was nothing original.
So Mike Pence is not a charismatic speaker. I think that I still stand by what I said earlier in that the RNC is better at messaging compared to the DNC. However, Mike Pence has always had an issue with charisma. I had a difficult time paying attention to his speech. I think Lara Trump, even with all the lies that she was spewing during her speech, was much more engaging. I think that Kayleigh McEnany was much more engaging.
Kayleigh McEnany was the best speech of the entire RNC thus far. Sorry, Anna.
No, you're right. I agree with you because she had the ability to humanize, first of all, humanize herself in a way that I didn't think was possible, but humanize Republicans. Because remember, the thing that was really missing, I mean, there's a lot missing from the Republican Party, there's no question, especially in this Trump era. But what did Biden really focus on for the DNC? This whole message of empathy and compassion, and it was all about humanizing him. I mean, how many videos did we see or how many speeches did we hear that talked about his empathy, his relationship with his family, how much he loved his family? It was all about humanizing him and painting this picture of this kind-hearted person. And so I think Kayleigh McEnany and people like her were given opportunities to speak during the RNC because, yeah, she was great at communicating in a way that made you feel empathy for her or sympathy for her. And so, okay, there's that. Pence, on the other hand, is just not an engaging speaker. And you're right. I mean, he hit on all of the standard Republican talking points, but there were so many moments where the lies are so blatant and brazen, and I can't. He's talking about conquering Islamic terrorists. Are you kidding me? The United States has a problem with domestic terrorism. Domestic terrorists killed 2 demonstrators in Wisconsin last night alone. But the Department of Homeland Security, let me just finish this one point. And I tweeted this story, so please check it out. Politico reported about how the Department of Homeland Security has been urging Trump to do something about domestic terror. And guess what he did? Ignored it because he loves domestic terrorists. Domestic terrorists love Trump. So if they're murdering Americans on American soil who happen to disagree with Trump, who happen to want to speak out against extrajudicial killings on American soil committed by police officers, Trump's all for it. Who cares? Great, very fine people. We have a terrorism problem in the United States. It's been ignored for a while, but it's been amplified by Donald Trump. It's been greenlit by Donald Trump. Go ahead, Emma.
Yeah, no, sorry, it's the virtual thing. It's hard to know when to jump in, but yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that it was just like copy paste jingoism, copy paste xenophobia, copy paste conservative values. Like there was absolutely nothing original that he brought to the table there. And I'm kind of blanking on the point that I was going to make when we were talking about terrorism. So it'll come to me.
No, but I mean, terrorism, it's just amazing because like when the Trump administration took out Qasem Soleimani, first of all, there were a lot of potential downsides to that. Like that could have led to a full-blown war with Iran. And luckily it didn't, but the potential downsides significantly outweighed the upsides. And what do I mean by upsides? Okay, so if you're somehow miraculously a Trump supporter watching this right now, how did your life improve after Qasem Soleimani, an Iranian general, was murdered? How did your life improve? It didn't. But we have domestic terrorists here in the United States right now who are emboldened, who are colluding with local police officials to kill demonstrators. That's okay? And by the way, for all you pathetic right wingers who are like, oh, that 17-year-old militia guy was defending himself. He shot a demonstrator in the head. And as people were chasing him down after he murdered someone, he opened fire again. But all you see from the Jesse Waters and these disgusting right wingers, apologists for domestic terrorists in this country, all you see from them is a short snippet where a protester managed to get this 17-year-old murderer on the ground. Yeah. And he's defending himself. He's defending himself. No, he wasn't defending himself. Well, what happened was he shot a demonstrator in the head and then he got chased down by protesters. You guys are pathetic and disgusting to support that kind of domestic terror. Yeah, I mean, sorry, Emma. No, you're right. It's again virtual. I can't figure it out. It's tough. But yeah, no, there's just the delay. So completely correct there. And they talk about how Obama was a terrorist sympathizer. Remember? Yeah. Who's the terrorist sympathizer who's literally making excuses for a domestic terrorist that just killed 2 people in Wisconsin? It's Jesse Waters, it's Tucker Carlson who are making that argument tonight. Yeah. And what is the Republicans' message on foreign policy? Because Donald Trump Jr. on night 1 said that Trump was going to end the wars. Insane that hasn't happened, or that Trump had ended the wars and will do it. Like that's not the reality. Trump removed a rule that Obama put in place that had to record drone strikes, which was threadbare as it is, and the civilian deaths in that case. Trump has vetoed a bill that went through that would get rid of our involvement in Yemen. So we continue to fund a genocide in Yemen over and over again. And then you have Mike Pence coming out here and bragging about how we're defeating terrorists in the middle of a domestic crisis, multiple domestic crises of racial unrest, of mass unemployment and economic despair and a pandemic. So who is this appealing to? Who is this appealing to except the base? But the base can't even figure it out. Are they the paleo-conservative pretenders on the Tucker Carlson, Rand Paul side? Or are they the people that want to assassinate a major governmental leader like Qasem Soleimani and then cheer over it and who cares about the consequences? What is the right's philosophy when it comes to foreign policy? So I don't understand that. And I don't understand why it was such a big focus of Pence's speech. Again, the only reason we're not in a massive war with Iran right now is because of the restraint of Iran and nothing to do with us. So we should thank them. No, exactly. That's exactly right. And let me just remind everyone that all of the antagonistic rhetoric that we hear from the Trump administration toward China especially when they mention China as a communist country and ooh, communist, big boogeyman. Remember, North Korea is communist, right? And Donald Trump went on a world tour to talk about how he fell in love with Kim Jong-un, a brutal dictator who puts his own people into concentration camps. And it's not about communism. Like the rhetoric, by the way, and to be fair, while the Trump administration, the Trump campaign keeps arguing that Biden's a softie for China, are you kidding me? The pivot to China happened under the Obama administration. It had nothing to do with communism. It had everything to do with our corporate interests getting threatened by real competition by Chinese tech companies. That was really the heart of why the Obama administration started pivoting toward being a little more hostile toward China, okay? And that continued under Trump. It was amplified under Trump. It's just that he's not really a sophisticated person. And so he's, I think, less savvy in hiding the real reasons why we're antagonizing China. But look, I'm talking about this as if like Trump voters know what's going on or as if they know or care about what the truth is. But China develops 5G technology and all of a sudden they're the boogeymen. It's because they're kicking our asses. We don't invest in education in this country. We don't invest in our own people. And so rather than being able, I mean, capitalism is all about competing, right? We should be able to compete with China. We're supposed to be the best and the brightest. US exceptionalism, American exceptionalism. Oh no, but we can't beat them. So why don't we go to war? And that's what terrifies me about the Trump administration, in addition to everything else that's going on. The rhetoric, which keeps getting ramped up and up and up, is scary stuff because China is not a joke. China is not some small rinky-dink country. They have been expanding their military capabilities. And when you hear Trump and Pence and anyone in the right wing ramp up their rhetoric in regard to China, and then at the same time, like goad Biden into ramping up his own rhetoric, that is some terrifying stuff. Because where does this end? I don't know why I started going off on this tangent, but it's just the foreign policy stuff. Everyone's full of it. But there's this unhinged and also unsophisticated way of going about things on the right. And that terrifies me with Trump. I don't know what he's capable of doing or what he will do if he gets reelected and has another 4 years to mess around with his, short-sighted, incredibly ignorant foreign policy, strategies.
Yeah, and Mike Pompeo is the Secretary of State, and we're basically operating under the assumption that Trump won't go so far as to instigate with China, even though his rhetoric says that he will. But just think about what a war with China would look like. Like an actual war. Just think about it for a second. Because Americans are so goddamn privileged. We don't know what war's like.
No, we don't. New York, we haven't seen it on our soil.
Yeah, imagine Chinese troops. Not because China's some nefarious, terrible actor, but because of instigation by a hawkish administration at your door, gunning down your family. Like that's the reality of the United States declining as a superpower. And we don't get to behave like the bully that just invades any country we want and then kill their civilians and then do some glossy ad on TV for joining the military and pretending like everything's okay. No, that's the realities of war.
Yeah, never. You're absolutely right.
This generations before, yes, we've sent people to war. Vietnam, people understand how horrific it is, but that was a war in another country. Imagine a war on our soil, and then maybe consider who you're. I mean, not that Joe Biden is some dove. Again, voted for the Iraq War, but Trump's recklessness adds an entirely new wrinkle to it. The only thing literally saving us from any war with a big superpower like China is because he cares about the economic consequences for himself.
So,
real tangent, but I don't think anyone's talking about it, and so I think it was important for us to talk about.
Yeah, I agree. And we gotta add something different to the mix.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.